When we at the Fisherman magazine are at the biggest tackle show on earth, it's always a pleasure when I could stop in and see a friend from home, Jack Sprangle, Captain Jack Sprangle, because we're looking at Shimano, and Shimano has got some new stuff out here, and I know Jack's going to use some of it in the Northeast.
Absolutely.
You've got the new Saragosa, though, and a lot of folks are familiar with that, confident in that, tuna fishing, also striped bass. What's new about the Saragosa this year that makes it so unique?
New this year, they've introduced one very specific model in the Saragosa lineup. It's the Saragosa BFC, which stands for Billfish Concept. What makes this reel different than all the other Saragosas, because it does have all the same features as your traditional Saragosa, is that it's been modified to become the ultimate reel for bill fishing. Up north by us, that means species like white marlin. Down here in Florida, very popular reel. This is going to be for sailfish.
Sure.
What makes this reel ideal for that type of fishing are two things. Number one, this reel has a 56-inch take per rotation of the handle. That makes this reel the fastest reel of its kind on the planet. So you got that big scope, that big bow in the line where you're trying to get tight on a marlin, or you're backing a boat down and you can't let the line get loose, that's going to completely compensate for that. The other thing is, when you're fishing for billfish, you're often fishing a much lighter drag, and you also are going to be using usually monofilament line. So instead of socking the drag way down on this, you're going to want a much softer drag. So they've changed the coefficient on this reel to compensate for a much more gradual curve that's going to be more ideally suited for lines like 20-pound monofilament. It also has rigid drag support. It's a feature you see in a lot of big game reels for heavy drag under heavy load, but because your drag is so light, this reel is going to be working just as hard with this drag under a light drag with a heavy pull. So that's going to stabilize the reel and reduce any kind of catching or burrs that are going to throw off your transition on your braided line or your monofilament.
Gotcha. When is this coming out?
This reel will be coming out very shortly. It's new this year, just got introduced here at ICAST.
You'll see this a lot wherever you might be bill fishing, certainly on the tournament scene up in the Northeast.
Right.
You'll see it in a lot of cockpits for the pitch baits getting ready to toss out. That's awesome. Another model that you have, and it's very familiar in terms of the rods from Shimano, is the Terramar.
Right.
You've got the Northeast, but now you've got a Southeast model.
This year they just introduced a Southeast model. I have an example here with the Northeast. The Southeast has cork grips, and just as they are back home, they're adjusted to each style of fishing that would be more popular. So the new Southeast versions, just like we have for our Northeast versions, are matched for techniques like popping corks for sea trout. They've got heavier action rods for live baiting tarpon, rods designed for throwing jigs off a bridge for snook, things of that features. What they've done with that model, just like they've done with the Northeast model, they've changed the cosmetics on the rod. Terramar has been a staple for all of us for a long time. They used to have that bluish look. Now they've got this smooth, kind of matte gray look to them. They've also changed the guide train on these rods. They put sea guides on there, and by balancing that full frame out, if you feel this rod, it actually feels a lot lighter.
Oh, it's really
so it's a much lighter rod. It's much more stable. You got a lot more transfer of power on the fish with that. And the other thing they've added to them now is they put these rubber grips on all the heavy models. All of our Northeast models have them, but in the Southeast models, everything heavy and above will have these rubber gimbals on there. It's going to keep it in the rod holder better when you're running in rough seas, and it's a heck of a lot more comfortable fighting big game fish.
Like in the Northeast, there are a lot of guys in the Southeast kind of split as far as cork versus the Ava grip.
You do see a lot more because it's a lot more finesse fishing down here, a lot of like light jigs and soft baits or smaller live baits. You do see guys more partial to the cork down here. They have a rubber cork hybrid gut on them, a lot of them, and only when you get to the heavier models will you find that rubber gimbal.
Gotcha.
But Northeast guys, we're getting a lot more spray. We're in a little bit of a bigger ocean. We're more partial to the EVA.
They're fishing tougher conditions, tougher guys.
Tougher guys.
You mentioned the staple. I know another staple in the Shimano line has been the Travala.
Right.
That hasn't been touched in a long time.
Travala is an iconic rod that changed the way we fish, and it still features that TC4 construction. You're seeing a lot of tuna technology hitting a lot of different blanks, and then rods even like Terramar. Travala has been made with TC4. TC4 in a layman's term is heavy-duty glass woven into the carbon fiber. That's what makes this rod just so durable. That's why so many charter guys like to use them.
Sure.
Travala series rods are known for one thing. They're not that lure casting rod. They're this hybrid of jigging or bait fishing, pitching baits, fishing up and down where you want a little more action to come further up into the blank, not as fast as some of the other rods. So it still has the TC4 construction on the blank. It has that new same cool coloration that Terramar has gotten. It also has a brand new sea guide train on it, so you got a much lighter weight, much more balanced rod. And again, now they've also added that heavy duty rubber gimbal on there, so it's going to stay in the rod holder better, and it's also going to be a lot more comfortable fighting big game fish.
How many sizes?
There's 7 sizes in the spinning, 8 sizes in the conventional, and they range right down from medium light, so you're actually going to be able to do these with like sea bass, fluke, things like that, all the way up to an extra heavy, so you could use them on smaller tuna species and other pelagic. A lot of mid-range stuff for fish like striped bass or deeper water jig and fluke, cod, things of that nature.
When am I looking for that one?
You're looking at about 2 and change for this rod.
And shops soon, the fall. I'm having that ready for the fall, you said?
Yes, it should be ready. We just finished filming a couple of series on them, so keep your eyes on YouTube. You'll be seeing a few, and I'm sure they can find a link here on the Fisherman.
You got to, what Jack just said, you got to pay attention to the Shimano social media, the YouTube and everything. Talking about a 50-pound striper on slow pitch, because I'm looking forward to seeing that.
It's coming, yes.
Look for the Shimano stuff in your tackle shops, and look for it up in New England waters on Captain Jack Sprangle's boat as well. Always appreciate seeing you down here, man.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.